I'm Marina. I'm a doctoral researcher at the Technical University of Denmark, and I'm working in CIRCit and also in my PhD project with circular business models. And what do we understand by that? And the main focus of this work package is to answer the question, how to design a business model that is fit for circular economy. And from a manufacturer perspective, we understand that it's about rethinking or reconfiguring the way the value generation architecture of the company works, or the way the business, or one company can have more than one business model, but the way a specific business works. And is rethinking that with two objectives. Obviously, the main objective is to fight resource inefficiency, the inefficiencies that we see in circular economy. But that has to be aligned with what is expected by the market and what the market is prepared to take. Or maybe they don't even know, but they should take in a better way that is not a linear way. So it's about exploring multiple types of economic value, but also value for user, value for customers, value for other stakeholders that might become your customer along the product life cycle, beyond the point that you just put a product in the market. And there are many companies already doing it. Some companies are doing circular business models, but not for environmental reasons, for other reasons. And just to give examples here, these companies found out that some inefficiencies in the linear way of doing businesses, they could capture value if they changed that. So the Philips is, for example, not selling light bulbs for big airports, like cheap airports. They sell a paper-lux contract. They operate, they project, they source the light bulbs, and they make it in the most efficient way because it's on their cost now, not the airport. It's not their core. They want illumination, and that's what they provide. How they do it, how effective they are in the resource way that they consume, it's up to Philips. Then we have many of bike sharing, car sharings appearing. And what they are realizing is, are people wanting to own things that they just use 2 hours a day, maybe sometimes to commute? Or are they wanting to get mobility? Then we can provide mobility in the most effective and way in which you can use something that was used only 2 hours a day, 8, 20, 24 hours a day with many users that are co-located. So in Copenhagen we have Bicyclen, we have many others bike sharing systems going on. Other companies just said, oh, there are products that are used very short time, why do we have to sell them and use it once and then throw it away? So baby clothing or single-use packaging. In Copenhagen we have Viga, which is selling baby clothing and pregnant woman clothing at the right size per subscription. So you get always the most updated size of clothing for your baby as they grow, and you deliver it back. You don't need to own it, but only to get the use out of it. This will affect, obviously, the financials of the company and also of the users. So it's a matter of finding the balance and doing it for resource productivity. In this work package, we try to search for that answer for each company. In your context, what's the best configuration? What's the way to start trying? Because it's a matter of, as Lars told us, about trying and getting it right and adjusting it on the way. So we try to find opportunities and then define the value propositions, outline the detailed concepts, calculate the potential, that's important to see if it's going to have a potential economically and for a circularity point of view, and then plan for piloting, testing, adjusting, and making it happen. So if you join this work package, you're going to discover some of the ways of reconfiguring it, and we're going to just make a deep dive on the first part, which is finding the opportunities. So I'm waiting for you there. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Now it's my turn. I'm Jutta Hildenbrandt. I work at RISE in Sweden. And I'm a researcher. By training, I'm an environmental engineer, and my major subject back then was waste management. So doing something useful with waste is a topic that I worked for decades with. And from waste management, it's quite close to go to waste avoiding and then to LCA. So that's my background. And closing the loop should be about recycling, which has many facets and is probably not done in the best way at the moment. And we all have seen probably pictures of informal recycling where it ends up in places where it's not treated very well, and people harm themselves because they pick out some valuable stuff but are left with the damaging stuff. So this is part of the closing the loop, and this is located in the circularity scanner in recirculate parts and products, where we have remanufacturing and taking out entire components and parts of a product, but also recirculating materials, because some of the materials might be valuable after all and they just have to be kept back. It was very impressive to hear that you pay customers 10% of the value at the end of life, so that shows them also that this is still a value that you want to get back. Very nice to hear. And one of the reasons how to evaluate whether a recycling or a remanufacturing loop might be beneficial from an environmental and resource efficiency point of view is that you compare it to what you have to do in a linear economy, where you extract and process virgin materials from the earth crust or from agricultural process, put them into manufacturing, and then put them into stock and utilize them as products. So getting this value back that is already in the economy and trying to reuse it or to repair it or remanufacture it, repair is not even here, but remanufacture it and bring it back is one of the options to avoid all the effort that you have to put in here. But of course you also have to put some effort here. And comparing this effort with this effort might be a key to evaluate whether this is a good approach or not. Oh, sorry, that was too fast. So I can go back to this. You wanted to take a picture. I noticed that, but I had already clicked. You're done? It's okay. So next is the decision context for closing the material and product loops, where we actually, you at this table heard a lot about designing future products, and you heard a lot about and introducing sensors and assessing sustainability. This will also topics in other work practices that we think about the future status of the economy that will be more circular. We actually also have to think about existing products. We have brought some here that are maybe completely different to what you do, because they are cheap and not very sustainable, but sometimes you learn from mistakes. So we will analyze this product a bit more thoroughly and think about what can be done still with this, and what are the options that you have. Are there options to remanufacture it? But of course there's also the context of designing future products and designing business models that are suitable for these future products. So this will be a purely brainstorming, and there's no silly idea within this workshop. We can go through all, and I would like to go through this as a mapping with more sort of areas that need to be considered. Feasibility: is there a technical process to close the loop, whether it's recycling or remanufacturing? Just yes or no, or what stages do we have here? What is the effort to implement this recirculation? Do we have to transport the products to another place? Do we have to join forces also with others that have a similar task and similar issues? Or do we first need to collect all these toothbrushes and all this stuff to get it back and to bring it up to a valuable heap? And then of course there's always the legal and frameworks that you have to discuss, because it pops up everywhere, but it's something that is slightly independent from the feasibility.
Now the workshop that you really want to join this afternoon is on the design and development of circular value chains. No one company can become circular in their own or on their own. Value chains are divided according to expertise, right? Then in closing loops, it's very likely that you're gonna need some of those expertise, some of those capabilities of other companies in the chain. So in my tryout, I want to do two things. First, I want to offer some inspiration, open up our minds to the different possibilities that partnerships offer. And I want to talk about three cases for doing that. One is the case of River Simple, and I want to use this case to illustrate how we need to rethink value chain relationships both downstream and upstream. I want to use the Ford and Heinz case, their collaboration, to illustrate how finding new partnerships outside of your existing value chain can create new opportunities. And I want to use the case of Bakers Pasco to illustrate how collaborations or the creation of new entities offers new opportunities for value capture. The next thing that I want to do in the tryout is talk a bit about the process. What are some of the steps that you need to go through when you're designing circular value chains? Because you, as the main stakeholder, you're operating a configuration of your value chain at the moment. And you need to figure out where you're going to close the loop and where that is in your interest. So what kind of value do you aim to capture? But there's other stakeholders involved in that current system, and they have an interest in that system, otherwise they wouldn't be part of it. Now, looking at what else those stakeholders might be interested in, and where those interests align with the interest that, or the value that you've identified that you want to capture as a company, that's a way of figuring out who is likely to work with you, who would want to work with you in creating new systems. And the next thing that you need to do, as I've already mentioned, is figure out what other capabilities are missing. And maybe that means that you need to find new partnerships, or you need to create new entities to make sure that you can operate your circular system. So if you're interested in the inspiration of where new partnerships can offer new opportunities, and or in the process of creating circular value chains, come and join my workshop.